New numbers out this morning show the actual need to save less money to retire comfortably. Northwestern Mutual puts that number at $1.26 million. It's actually gone down now. People are reducing how much they need to save. Jason Matthews with Matthews Financial and Insurance Solutions in Oakland joins us to take a deep dive into this. So $1.26 million is what the average consumer says they need to live comfortably. What do you say to that number?
Yeah, I think things have changed. One thing has changed is when we look at our money for retirement, we probably need a lot less than we have previously because interest rates have went up. With interest rates going up, now you don't have to have so much in the bank to get that rate of return you need to generate to maintain your lifestyle.
Okay. In terms of the money, the amount of money that people need, that number, people are reducing it by $200,000. What is it? Because maybe people are worried about inflation. Have you seen that over the years? What can you tell us?
Yeah, people are always worried about inflation, especially now where we saw gas prices have jumped up over drastically and food prices and eggs we heard about and all these things. So that's always going to be a concern. Always is inflation. And the next thing, the biggest issue people always have is taxes. But most retirees, their biggest fear is running out of money before they pass away.
Yeah, here's a number here. 51% of Americans think it is somewhat or very likely they will outlive their savings. Only 16% feel confident in that number. What is driving that fear?
Fear is we're living a lot longer, right? And then now you see the stock market volatility. You're wondering if with how much volatility we have in the stock market, that, hey, their portfolio might drop significantly where now want to maintain their lifestyle and eventually they just run out of money. That's always their biggest fear. Also with the increase of cost of living going on as well.
More than a third or 35% of Americans say they have not taken any steps to address the potential outcome. What do you say to people that are still on the fence about these type of things?
Worst thing you can do is put your head in the sand. Understand where you're at. Look at where you're projecting, where you go, and have a plan. Just don't keep putting your head in the sand, because the worst thing it is, you keep putting your head in the sand, it's going to get worse and worse and worse until you actually go and hit it head on with it.
No, and if you hadn't started when you were 20 years old to save, you could still start 40 or 50. I mean, how do you tell people to approach that if they're just starting, even later in life?
If you're starting later in life, there's some great things that the government has done over the last couple of years. Right now, I always say match your company and employer retirement plan, which is great. If you're over the age of 50, you have additional catch-up contributions. This year, they may even a bigger one for now people who are ages of 60 to 63, where they can put additional $11,250,000 into the retirement account at their employer, which is a huge amount of savings they can. But if you can't do that, just put away something and keep doing it on a consistent basis.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about how to get to the $1.26 million. How do you save that type of money? What's the amount Americans need to invest each month to accumulate that kind of money by the time they need to retire?
The magic number is you want to save about 15% of all your money you want to save and invest at. So first you always should do is put as much as your employer match. So if your employer matches 6% in your 401k plan, then you do 6%. And then you want to also put some money in your Roth IRA and then your brokerage account and just keep doing it on a consistent basis. But usually that magic number is going to be 15%. That is a rule of thumb.
15% saved a month on a yearly basis of your overall yearly salary?
Yes.
Is that kind of what you tell people to do?
That's your magic number.
All right. And what else in terms of investments? How do you point people in that direction?
Yeah. So when it comes to portfolio, investing, the first thing you should do is not just keep all your money in savings. You want to have a diversified portfolio. So you want to have some of your money in your savings for a rainy day. But just to start off with, just put your money in just the S&P 500. It's the biggest 500 publicly owned companies. You invest in that. You're going to have a little bit of volatility because you're in the market. But in the long term, it's going to be a great place and a great place just to start off with. And then you just expand after that.
And if you're starting off that way, how much would you say someone should start putting into an account in the S&P 500, let's say?
I would say as much as possible, right? Do as much as possible, then diversify and talk to a professional after that. And then you want to add some bonds into your portfolio and add some international stocks. But first, start off with the S&P 500 is a great way to start off.
So that's kind of how when people come into your office, that's kind of how you're approaching things and letting them know when they're starting fresh and new how this type of thing would work.
Correct. And with some of my clients are kids, even when they get their first job, I say when they get their first job, you get a Roth IRA, put the money in the S&P 500, and once you start learning more about investing, then we go into different parameters of investing.
Try to get your kids into it early, man. That's the move. Yeah, Jason Matthews, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate your insight.
Thank you for having me.
All right.